The United States was on the verge of another heated election cycle, and the atmosphere crackled with tension. News outlets buzzed with speculation, debates flared across social media, and late-night television hosts sharpened their satire like swords ready for battle. But amidst all the political chaos, no one could have predicted the firestorm that was about to explode between two of America's most recognizable women, First Lady Melania Trump and outspoken television host Whoopi Goldberg. It all started on a seemingly ordinary afternoon when The View, the long-running talk show, decided to air what they claimed was a special segment dissecting the role of first ladies in shaping public perception of their husbands. Whoopi, never one to hold back, led the discussion with her signature blend of sarcasm and disdain. "You know," she began, crossing her arms and rolling her eyes, "some first ladies have been real powerhouses: Michelle Obama, Eleanor Roosevelt, Hillary Clinton. Then we've got Melania Trump, whose biggest contribution is looking like she just walked out of a perfume ad." The audience erupted in laughter, and her co-hosts chuckled along, nodding in agreement. Whoopi continued, leaning forward as if she were about to deliver a revelation. "But let's be real, folks. This woman doesn't do anything. I mean, besides standing next to her husband looking like she's trapped in a help me, I'm blinking in Morse code situation." Another round of laughter. Then the real jab came. "I don't know about y'all," Whoopi smirked, "but I wouldn't be surprised if Melania doesn't even speak when they're alone. Maybe Donald doesn't let her. Or maybe she just has nothing to say." The crowd's laughter turned into a few gasps. The moment quickly went viral, and within hours, social media was ablaze. Memes flooded Twitter, mocking Melania as a silent trophy wife. Hashtags like #MelaniaMute and #FreeMelania began trending. It was brutal. But no one expected what came next. For years, Melania Trump had been ridiculed, dismissed, and underestimated. To many, she was simply an elegant but passive figure standing in the shadow of one of the most polarizing men in history. But behind closed doors, Melania had grown tired of being mocked, tired of being ignored, and tired of Whoopi Goldberg acting like she knew anything about her life. So, for the first time in her life, Melania decided to fight back. She didn't respond immediately. No, that would have been too predictable. Instead, she planned. And when she finally spoke, she didn't just fire back, she delivered a crushing, nightmarish blow that sent shockwaves across the nation. It started with a single, unexpected announcement from the office of the First Lady. Melania Trump will appear on live television this Friday for a special address to the nation. America held its breath. The moment the announcement was made, America erupted in speculation. Melania Trump, who had spent most of her tenure as First Lady avoiding direct confrontation, was stepping into the spotlight on her own terms. The media scrambled to predict what she would say. Was she going to address Whoopi directly? Would she defend her husband? Or was this another carefully crafted PR move to sway public opinion? Cable news panels debated endlessly. Social media exploded with theories. Some joked that Donald Trump was behind the whole thing, scripting every word she would say. Others believed this was finally Melania's moment to prove she had a voice of her own. Meanwhile, Whoopi Goldberg wasn't worried. "Please," she scoffed on The View the morning after the announcement. "Melania Trump addressing the nation? What's she gonna do, read us a bedtime story in broken English?" The audience chuckled. Whoopi smirked. "Look, y'all," she continued, "I don't know what Melania's gonna say, but if she's got a problem with me, she better bring more than a fancy dress and a pouty face." It was the kind of comment that Whoopi had made for years, sharp, sarcastic, dismissive. But what she didn't realize was that this time, she wasn't dealing with the same old Melania Trump. Friday arrived. The anticipation was unbearable. Major networks cleared their evening slots to broadcast the First Lady's address live. Even skeptics tuned in, curious to see if Melania would live up to the hype. Then, at precisely 8 p.m. Eastern, the screen flickered, and there she was. Melania Trump sat alone in a grand yet understated room in the White House. She wore a simple, elegant navy blue dress, no extravagant jewelry, no flashy distractions. The only thing capturing the nation's attention was the look in her eyes. Steely, unshaken, powerful. The cameras zoomed in as she leaned slightly forward, her hands folded neatly in front of her. And then she spoke. "For many years, people have said I am silent, that I do not have words. But tonight I speak. And I speak with the truth." The room fell silent. Viewers across America sat up straighter. A woman must never be judged by how much she talks, but by what she says when she chooses to speak. And today I have something important to say. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. Then, with a cool, deliberate tone, she went for the kill. "Whoopi Goldberg, you think you know me. You think I am weak because I do not scream. But I will tell you this: real strength does not come from making jokes on television. It does not come from calling women names. It comes from dignity. It comes from grace. And it comes from knowing when to strike. The nation gasped. Whoopi, watching from her home in New York, nearly dropped the glass of wine in her hand. Melania wasn't done. You call me silent? Then listen very carefully, because I will say this once. You do not know my story. You do not know my struggles. And you do not know what I have endured. But I promise you this: you will learn. The broadcast cut to black. America exploded. News anchors were speechless. Twitter crashed for the first time in years. The words "you will learn" trended instantly, plastered across headlines, memes, and t-shirts within hours. And for the first time in her career, Whoopi Goldberg didn't have a joke to make. The shockwave from Melania Trump's speech rippled across the nation with unprecedented intensity. Every major news outlet scrambled to dissect her words, playing the video clip on repeat. Late-night hosts, usually quick to mock the First Lady, were at a loss for jokes. Even political analysts who had long dismissed Melania as a passive figure admitted she had just changed the game. But no one was more stunned than Whoopi Goldberg. Sitting in her Manhattan apartment, she replayed the clip over and over again, her face dark with frustration. She had built a career on being unfiltered, unapologetic, and unshaken. But something about Melania's delivery, the ice-cold stare, the razor-sharp tone, sent a chill down her spine. And worse, the public reaction wasn't on Whoopi's side. Melania just ended Whoopi's entire career in 3 minutes. Who knew the silent one had the deadliest aim? You do not know my struggles. You will learn. That's how you clap back. The hashtags had changed. Hashtag Free Melania was gone, replaced by hashtag Melania Speaks and hashtag You Will Learn. Whoopi knew she had to respond. She couldn't let this go unanswered. The next morning, The View opened with an electric energy. The audience buzzed with anticipation. Whoopi's co-hosts Joy Behar, Sarah Haynes, and Sunny Hostin exchanged nervous glances, unsure of what was about to unfold. Whoopi wasted no time. All right, let's talk about the speech, she said, gripping the table. Melania Trump, the First Lady of the United States, called me out last night on national TV. The audience murmured. Whoopi scoffed. Listen, I don't mind a little back and forth. I dish it out, I can take it. But let's be real here, does anyone actually believe Melania wrote that speech herself? Scattered applause. A few laughs. But the energy in the room was off. Whoopi continued. I mean, come on. We all know someone handed her a script and told her to look serious. This is the same woman who copied Michelle Obama's speech. Now we're supposed to believe she suddenly found her voice. She leaned back in her chair, waiting for the audience to cheer. Silence. A single cough echoed through the studio. For the first time in years, Whoopi Goldberg was losing the room. And then came the moment no one expected. One of her co-hosts, Sunny Hostin, normally an ally, shifted uncomfortably in her chair and spoke up. You know, Whoopi, she said carefully, I think you might be underestimating her. Whoopi turned, surprised. Excuse me. Sunny folded her hands on the table. Look, I'm no fan of the Trumps. But that speech, it didn't sound like something written for her. It sounded real. And if we just brush it off, we might be making the same mistake everyone else did. The audience rumbled in agreement. Whoopi clenched her jaw. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. And then, as if on cue, the producers handed her a note. She unfolded it and felt her stomach drop. Melania Trump just tweeted. She looked at the screen as her co-hosts and the audience turned their attention to the massive display behind them. The tweet was simple. Whoopi, you asked if I wrote my own speech? I did. And if you are afraid of what I will say next, then you should be. You will learn. The studio erupted. The internet exploded. And Whoopi Goldberg, for the first time in her career, had nothing left to say. The week that followed Melania Trump's tweet became one of the most tumultuous periods in modern media history. What had started as a simple clash of egos between two celebrities was now a full-fledged cultural battle. Melania had done more than defend herself, she had managed to shift the narrative. Where once there had been a perception of her as a passive figure, now the public saw her as a calculating, fearless force. In less than 72 hours, she had captured the spotlight, commanding it with precision. Whoopi Goldberg's response, on the other hand, had faltered. The tweet had been a direct, unambiguous challenge, and it cut deep. It didn't matter that Whoopi had decades of experience in the entertainment world. In that moment, she was facing an adversary unlike any she had encountered before. As The View continued to cover the fallout from Melania's speech and tweet, a surprising shift occurred. Whoopi's co-hosts, once unwavering in their support of her, began to question her approach. Joy Behar, who had often been a trusted ally, turned to Whoopi one afternoon, her expression more serious than usual. "You know, Whoopi," she said, "Melania didn't just take a jab at you. She made a statement about women, about standing up for themselves. And I'm not sure we should be dismissing that." Whoopi, already weary from the media blitz, snapped back. "Oh, now you're on her side? You think she's some empowered woman?" "I think she's someone who's playing the game smarter than any of us thought," Joy countered. It was becoming clear, Whoopi's position was weakening. But the thing about Whoopi Goldberg was that she wasn't one to back down. Despite the cracks in her armor, she had one more ace up her sleeve. That evening, in front of millions, Whoopi made her boldest move yet. She announced that she would be taking Melania up on her challenge. "I'm not scared of you, Melania," she said with fire in her eyes. "You want me to learn something? Fine. Let's do it. I'll meet you face to face. No scripts. No cameras. Just two women who've got a lot to say." The studio was stunned. Whoopi had called for a live, unfiltered confrontation with the First Lady of the United States. A public showdown that no one thought was coming. It was a challenge that not only put their rivalry into overdrive but also pitted two of America's most powerful women against each other in a way no one could have predicted. Melania, as always, remained calm. Her team issued a simple statement: "The First Lady has agreed to meet with Whoopi Goldberg in a moderated, televised forum. The date and location will be announced soon." It was a move that only added to the tension. The world now knew that this wasn't just an online feud, it was personal. It wasn't just about politics or media. It was about power, control, and who would come out on top. The day of the highly anticipated showdown between Melania Trump and Whoopi Goldberg arrived. The venue was carefully chosen, a neutral space in Washington, D.C. A nondescript conference room designed to keep the focus entirely on the two women and their clash of words. The moderators, two respected journalists from major networks, were tasked with ensuring the conversation stayed civil, though no one believed that would be possible. The media circus surrounding the event was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. News vans lined the streets for miles. Helicopters hovered overhead. Cameras flashed nonstop. The world was watching. And for once, both Melania and Whoopi seemed to share the same intensity. The doors opened and Melania entered first. She was dressed in a sleek, dark red jacket that gave off an air of authority. Her hair was impeccably styled and her posture was flawless, an image of quiet strength. She didn't smile. She didn't wave. She simply walked to her seat and sat down, her gaze fixed forward. Moments later, Whoopi walked in wearing her signature casual style, black slacks, a loose blouse, and a scarf. Her body language was more relaxed than Melania's, but her eyes burned with determination. As she took her seat, she didn't say a word. She simply stared across at Melania. The tension in the room was palpable. The moderators, standing at the podium, addressed the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. This evening, we are witnessing a unique conversation between two women who have played central roles in American life and politics. Our goal is to allow both Melania Trump and Whoopi Goldberg to speak candidly and engage with each other in a respectful and open dialogue." The moderators gestured to the women. "First, we'll start with opening statements. Mrs. Trump, would you like to begin?" Melania nodded, and her voice was steady as she spoke. "I have learned that silence is often misunderstood as weakness. People expect you to react to their words, their insults, their jokes. But I am not here to react. I am here to speak for myself. To show that I do not need to be spoken for, nor do I need to be defined by anyone's opinions. I am my own person." She paused, looking at Whoopi directly. "And if anyone doubts that, they will learn soon enough." The words were deliberate, calm, and piercing. The audience held its collective breath. Whoopi shifted in her seat. Her trademark confidence was clearly visible, but even she knew this wasn't just another TV interview. This was real. And Melania wasn't backing down. "You know, I've been doing this for years, Melania. I've made a career out of calling out people who think they can get away with being above it all. I've said what I think about your husband and your family. But let's get something straight. This isn't about politics. This is about respect." Her voice was unwavering, though the edge was clear. "And when I see a woman sitting next to her husband with all the resources in the world and all she does is look pretty and say nothing, that's not strength. That's hiding." The crowd reacted immediately, half in applause, half in uncomfortable murmurs. It was clear Whoopi had struck first, but Melania was poised, unfazed. The moderator quickly stepped in. "Let's move on. Mrs. Trump, you've spoken about the idea of silence and strength. But many people wonder, why now? Why choose to speak up now, after years of being in the public eye?" Melania turned her gaze to the moderator, then back to Whoopi. "Because I'm not a pawn. I'm not here to be anyone's accessory. I've been through more than most people know, and I don't owe anyone an explanation. But I will say this, I am my own voice. And I won't let anyone diminish that. Whoopi, clearly agitated, leaned forward. So, you're saying that sitting by while your husband tears this country apart is strength? Hiding behind your silence while the world burns down, is that strength to you? Melania's expression didn't change. Her response was measured, but it carried the force of a woman who had been underestimated for far too long. I am not responsible for the actions of others. I am responsible for my own actions. And if I choose silence, it is not because I am afraid. It is because I know when to speak and when to let others reveal their true selves. I have no need to shout to be heard. My actions, my choices, they speak for me. The room went quiet. Whoopi's frustration was palpable. She opened her mouth to respond, but the words seemed to get stuck. It was as though Melania had outmaneuvered her in a way Whoopi hadn't expected. Finally, Whoopi spoke, her voice quieter now but still sharp. You know, Melania. I think that's the difference between you and me. You talk about silence as power. But for me, power comes from speaking the truth, no matter the consequences. Melania didn't flinch. And I speak the truth, Whoopi. Just in a way you may not understand. It was an unexpected shift. Whoopi had believed she would dominate the conversation. But Melania had not only held her ground, she had made Whoopi question her own tactics. The tables had turned, and for the first time, Whoopi was the one left scrambling for the right words. And as the conversation continued, the audience could feel it, the silent tension between two women, two worlds, and the struggle for control. Neither of them had won the battle yet, but one thing was certain, they had both forever changed the course of this public rivalry. The question now was, who would come out on top in the end? Would Melania continue to rise as a force to be reckoned with, or would Whoopi reclaim her title as one of the sharpest commentators in the industry? America watched and waited.